bum, 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 bum. So I should be live on YouTube right now. Oh, nice. Instagram's working again. Thank God. Thank God. Okay. That's good. All right, let's go live. We're going live, baby. Okay. Not really sure the time exactly. I always start off a little awkward at the beginning here. But looks like we're live, which is nice. What's up? I want to start by saying I know you've seen a lot of me. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Definitely taking on just being like unapologetically me. You can see the quote that I put up there, which I actually like, is be yourself. Everyone else is taken by Oscar Wilde, which I think is a good little quote there. And yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately when you put yourself out there like I've been doing, um, there's been people that are great, like giving constructive feedback, which I love. And there's some people just like less constructive and more just like showing that they don't have self-expression themselves. Really appreciate everyone who's understanding, being like, wow, getting up there is so tough. And then you lay into me, like you can give me whatever you say as long as you know how hard it is. Some people have been interesting, like where they're kind of like, oh, you shouldn't say this, don't say that. And I'm like, how do you react when someone like tells you don't say something? You know what I mean? Like you're probably gonna end up saying it anyways or want to say it more. And that's maybe something I need to work on. But like comedians telling me and basically like you'd know if I had like a beef with you about telling me what to do. Everyone else should really just feel free, be nice about it, but you can definitely give like open feedback. The goal of like constructive criticism, there's like something called radical candor. It was done by like an MIT or a Harvard grad, where it just talks about like four quadrants where you have like caring and not caring, and then truth and lack of truth. And so like if you're caring but not telling the truth, that's not helpful. If you're not caring and not telling the truth, that's like malicious. But then like if you're being brutally honest but with no intent of being like nice or caring, like that's just not really helpful, right? And so it's important to be like radical candor. I'll always embrace that. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, and I really want to be open. Actually, some coaching for myself is like when someone gives advice to not necessarily like have a comeback or be like, no, this is the reason why that I do that. And hey, Christian, Corey, definitely want to say what up. Kayla, thanks for joining. Shout out B May and the crew. But yeah, so like what do I want to say? Yeah, so when someone gives me criticism, it's important. And when someone gives you criticism, either I like when I was in the workplace, it stinks when you're trying to help someone and they're just like giving you reasons why they're not doing it. It's not productive, right? Like you're not saying it to hurt their feelings. They're not saying it to hurt my feelings. They just want to help, right? And contribute. And if you start like being really defensive, people will stop giving that advice. So I definitely am there for it. Just try, if you're gonna give that, don't be like, don't say that joke at all. Like my dad's been great where he's like, hey, have you thought about saying it this way? Like, let's have a conversation and talk about ways to improve on it, and stuff like that is always good. What's up, Mom? Appreciate you joining in. Definitely always nice seeing you, nice hearing from you there. But yeah, so the other thing I want to say is, like I kind of alluded to it before, is sometimes when people see you being like fully self-expressed, they don't know what to do with it because they often aren't really self-expressed themselves, which is like, I feel bad for that, have some compassion. But that doesn't mean like people do weird, quirky things that I judge too. Like human nature is to judge, right? Like you're going to be like, oh, why'd they do that? Or that's weird. I'm a goofy guy, truth be told. But I think what's important is like bridging the gap from being judgmental, ultimately to kind of taking on the approach of like, oh, that's weird, but I'm glad that they have that full self-expression, that they're able to be themselves and comfortable is really big. So I want to acknowledge that. The other thing I want to acknowledge is really for myself, but something that I'm proud of. I'm over a month sober from alcohol, and then I'm coming on like 3 weeks. So the dates themselves, which I thought I wrote down somewhere, not sure where it, oh, here we go. So December 22nd, 2023 was last time I drank alcohol, and January 12th, 2024 was last time I smoked weed. So, I'm very proud of that, happy that. Anyone who did like sober January, congrats. Anyone who took any time sober, really happy for you there. If you continued like me, even better. Just a little story, last night I saw someone was trying to do like a sober or dry February, and not that I was like encouraging them to drink or anything, but they like were feeling really sick, and I was like, well, alcohol is something that can kill you, the withdrawals, and they actually weren't aware of that. I didn't try to scare them, but it was just something like, if it's really that bad, like maybe you need to taper off. And they thanked me and they were happy that I mentioned it because it really was like trying to go cold turkey, probably not possible for that person. And don't be ashamed or embarrassed. Like the fact that you want to slow down, I acknowledge that. And the fact that you have to taper down, like I think it's a good thing that ultimately she's kind of taking that approach on. So shout out to her. Not going to drop any names, anything like that. I don't even think I'm friends with her on social media necessarily. But that was big, huge. I think very brave, and just she was willing to kind of take the criticism and not make it like a mean way. I don't even know if it was criticism as much as I just kind of had a thought out loud, put the foot in my mouth. Yeah, so that's about my first book or first little page here. I have a couple other quick updates, and then I'll get into kind of the second board. I'm going to be picking up my script later for the play that I'm in. Really excited for that. We do our rehearsal Sunday, which will be very cool. So really just getting that kick started, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting to hear back for the bartending gig. Still haven't heard back exactly. I'm not too worried about it because there's other people that were waiting, haven't heard back. I think they're just really busy. Maybe the opening days push back a little, so they're not ready to do that. I'd hope that I'd at least hear a no, which is fine. There's so many people that applied. If I don't, it's no hard feelings. It would just be good because I don't really want to put my eggs in too many baskets, especially where that job's on the horizon. That being said, it'd be good to start a job sooner than later because the busy season is coming. So if anyone's watching this in Myrtle Beach, knows of a bartending server with not too much experience, but a hard worker, quick learner, and someone that has worked serving in the past and in the restaurant industry, definitely send it on my way. That's my hopeless promotion or something like that. I was excited last night. Geez, I go through this quick, kind of like my stand-up, so maybe it'd be good to practice some timing here and stuff like that. Not that I'm going to practice jokes, but give a chance for things to slow down, be a little funnier, start to use the negative space of kind of the airtime. So we'll see. We'll see. Definitely. It's very live. Like I just basically write a list on whiteboards and then I kind of go through. It's therapeutic for me. Something I want to do anyways is this going live. It's just kind of a challenge to myself that I said I would do from January 1st. Took me about like 2 weeks to really kick it off. But just going full force into it now. Really appreciate all the support. Again, feel like I'm rushing a little bit, but yeah, I appreciate the support. Thank you everyone reaching out. Keep on reaching out. Whoever is watching this, if you end up watching the whole thing, you're an absolute trooper. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, maybe one day I could actually get this out to more people. But for now, it's more just like an internal challenge for myself. And I hope that, some of these things I'm dealing with or talking about can some way or other actually help you as a viewer, as someone who's kind of in my community on Facebook. Definitely, I know it's impacting some people as I've had them reach out. And yeah, just encourage everyone to be brave, be full self-expression. You know what I mean? Be unapologetically you. Like that quote says, be you. Everyone else is taken, right? Like, don't be someone else. That role is filled. Fill your own role and be yourself. Listen to others and be caring and respectful, but don't let them change who you are. And that's just really important. So, great time at old Old Bull and Bush, almost lost word. I call it OBB, is kind of my nickname for it. Saw some old friends that I hadn't seen since kind of back before drinking. And I stopped in there a few times, but they just weren't there. It was just kind of per chance. So it was good to see them. Shout out my old buddies. Nice seeing you guys the other night. Would love to hang out again. Good powwow. Hoping we can get people to that coastal baseball. Been just kind of recruiting people to get them to a couple games. And I'll keep moving forward. So last night I did my open mic at the Fresh Brew Coffee House. Really a great place. They do a lot for the community. They do all sorts of like job drives. They help people out with homeless. I think they have food there for homeless people, kind of a lost and found for people getting clothes and jackets. It was just a great community. I mean, I'll tell you what, like great humor in there, really nice people. You had a mix of people that I'm not even sure like there was that many homeless. It could be just people down on their luck. You never know. They may have homes, like it wasn't like packed, wasn't smelly, anything like that. Like these guys are really well taken care of there. And then the regulars there are just good people, right? Like I have no problem being around that. Just some good souls, good stories, people with some great sense of humor. You had people getting up there playing instruments, saying poetry. If you can go to Fresh Brew House, it's a great spot to check out. Thursdays they do the open mic. I think tonight they're doing like a art walkthrough, something like that. But check it out. Don't be hesitant to check these things out. It's always great to give back to your community. Even just hanging out with people and just connecting on that level is big. Something that Monday Vert and my company is like really big in supporting is like positivity and, just doing the right thing for others and connecting, right? So that was awesome. Fresh Brew Coffee House. Love that kind of mindset there. That's the kind of place I want to be a part of. And it was great because it worked out where I got to do a little stand up. And technically, any comedians in the area, if you're looking for a place, Fresh Brew Coffee House, you can definitely do stand up. They're more than welcoming. Cool. So, gonna keep rifling through, and I think we're right now at 10 minutes, so I'm trying to keep this to like 15 minutes, right around there. I am going to Island Bar tonight, and the drawing is currently up to $2,700. You're technically supposed to buy shots for everyone. I don't drink, so that's my excuse, but I would probably throw like $300 to the bartenders, walk out of there with $2,400. Not too bad. God, if you're listening to my prayers, I will take $2,400 and just give the $300 out, no problem, no questions asked. Maybe even a little bit more. If I honestly got $2,000 afterwards, I would be happy with that. Cool. And then I'm also, before that, going to pick up the script for my play. I also saw Eric, you joined in. Thanks for joining, bro. I try not to like blow people's spot up too much, but I do want to acknowledge people joining. I know that's kind of part of the cool part of being live and interacting with people. I always see you liking things. Hope you're loving it up in Maine. It's not too cold for you. But what am I kidding? You moved up there, probably love it. Hopefully you're getting some skiing time, maybe some tubing with the kids, but definitely enjoy that. So I'm picking up my script, which is nice. Yeah, cool. The next point here is kind of redundant. I already said that here. But yeah, the reactions to my show has been mostly positive. People have been actually saying like really helpful things, tips, need to slow down, have better timing. I'm actually like debating approaching it almost like a poet, where you'd have like iambic pentameter, use certain alliterations. And I do think it's funny how, similar to poetry, comedy is just like one word difference, one comma difference can actually be the difference. And I said different like 3 times, but it's the difference between being funny and, just kind of saying an idea that could be funny and not hitting the punchline. So I do think approaching it from a poetic mindset would be beneficial. I have a little bit of poetry background. Recently met some poets, and they do a great job. Like, they're not even doing stand-up, and they're just telling poems and getting laughs. Like, that is how I want to approach it. Have a cadence, have like certain surprises and elements. Really learning how to fill in the negative space, like I said. So pausing longer, not holding, not keeping going full speed. So take my breath now. It's funny because it's like you can actually make people laugh by saying nothing. You can make people laugh by your facial expressions. So as I continue to evolve and get better on the stage, really looking to get better with my physical comedy, using, like I said, the negative space pauses. Going to be looking up all these, comedians that have been sent my way, some videos, take some notes and stuff like that. Just really excited to, learn new things and kind of take that on. Let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, just everyone keep reaching out. It's okay, even if you hurt my feelings a little. Like, I'll kind of rub it off, brush it off. I do appreciate it. I totally know that I'm not perfect yet by any means, and I want to get better. So I encourage the feedback. If earlier I scared you away a little bit, saying like, oh, someone kind of hit me hard, they were just really coming from a negative place, and it didn't feel like it was helpful. So just embrace radical candor, and we're good to go. I don't know. I wrote this note here. Maybe I was a little bit more upset at the time, but I think there's a difference between a people person and a people pleaser, right? And so I used to grow up as both a people person and a people pleaser through my life. And I'm starting to realize, like, people person is great, but people pleaser leaves kind of yourself unsatisfied. You give up a lot, and you just end up being kind of left in the dust, right? And then ultimately, you might turn bitter, right? And that's like where you start to see people turn on. They don't become, they leave that internal people person mindset, and they're like, I've had enough of people. Well, I haven't had enough. Still a people person, trying to stop people pleasing, and I'll be a service to others. But one of the most important persons in your life, people in your life, is yourself, right? So take care of yourself. If you're gonna people please, start with numero uno. They like to say, like, you can't serve from an empty vessel, so don't even try to. Take care of yourself. One thing I reflect on a lot is that, I'm so nice to people around me, but I can be so hard on myself. Like, even talking about that can be negative. So I like to joke, like, I'm the best at, being hard on myself. That's kind of the joke, right? It's like, it's not I'm so good at it, right? I'm just so good. And what does that mean? Like, does it mean you're mean to yourself? Whatever. That's kind of where I laugh at. But it's okay to self-reflect. It's not okay to beat yourself up to the point where you don't want to do things, where you're kind of depressed and stuff like that. If it's a clinical depression, definitely don't try to do it alone. Reach out for help. Similar to kind of earlier, like you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do anything cold turkey. Just take a step in the right direction, and you'll be surprised with the results. I know I certainly was. Yeah, I want to call out. I'm going to start doing like smaller cuts. So I know I've posted like my 2 full stand-up routines, and that was great. Like I have nothing to hide. I think I'm borderline offensive in some ways, and just want to be careful so I don't mix like my real true self with the comedy self with the real estate side. And real estate and a brand, you have to keep like very clean. I do want people to come to me because I'm funny, but I don't want to lose people because I say something that's like offensive or something like that. And so just keeping that in mind, might do more shorter kind of edits and stuff like that. So you'll still get to see some of my comedy, but it won't necessarily be the whole thing. Maybe just the best parts. I ultimately going to record it so I can learn from it. But that I think is a start. Like I was saying, kind of a little bit, comedy can be weird. It's not really funny if you keep it unoffensive. And like, if I was to give you my whole true self and how much I love people, and right now I'm dealing with God, like you'd be like, oh God, Shane, shut up. Like, oh, we don't need more Tony Robbins in the world. It's like, no one wants that. So I try to give the real. With comedy, you have to really like just tread that line of offensive. That's like why for a while comedy was kind of having a tough hit with political correctness. I don't ever want to offend anyone, but I think dark comedy has a way of just like really off-putting people, because they're like, oh man, that's too dark for me, or that's too offensive. I can't be perfect. Like, I have no intention of being homophobic. I don't want to be racist. I don't want to be in any way like generalizing or prejudiced. I don't want to put negative outputs out there, but I have to tread that line of like funny questions, or like, putting the mirror on society. An example of that is like I had a joke about schizophrenia, and someone in my life deals with schizophrenia, and they're not happy with the joke. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, it's something I thought of. It's something that's funny. I have a whole other set of jokes that will build off of it, but I'm just not there yet. They're not written, right? Like, I think the name schizophrenia itself is kind of like a bad name for it, and I'm not saying like, oh, people who have it are bad. No, like, that just doesn't sound very friendly or like happy. Like, you almost think danger when you hear that word. And I don't think that's necessarily fair to the person. So, I just think what's important is kind of putting a mirror to society. I recently was dealing with medical, like health professionals, trying to get someone a men's shelter or into a men's shelter. And they agreed that like, I think it was around, without going politics, Rick Reagan's time, he ended a lot of these asylums and mental institutions. And I can't even imagine how far we'd be along if, you actually had those still in place. But now we're about 20, 30, 40 years later, and you're starting to see the repercussion where that's a lot of the homelessness. You're dealing with mental illness, right? And people just don't want to deal with it. And, as terrible as a disease it is, some of these people still have people taking care of them. And I'm not saying they're lucky, but they are lucky that someone cares and supports about them. And it could be a lot worse. Like, I've seen examples of people in a lot worse situation. Should never compare. You shouldn't covet up. You shouldn't covet down. It's just perspective. Be grateful for what you have and not what you don't have. That is almost everything I had written here. Yeah, I mean, I just wrote here that like my goal is to have fun, push the line without offending. I can't guarantee that I'll always be non-offensive, but I promise that if you give me critiques and we work it out, like I'm willing to consider how to switch any wording so that it's not offensive. In the same way that wording can make things funny, it can also make things harmful or hurtful to others. And that's not the intention by any means. I'm just going to continue, moving forward. I really appreciate everyone supporting. I got a couple things to do, as I mentioned. I wanted to go live early so that kind of I can go out. I'm going to kind of stop by Neil and Pam's and see what's up going on there, kind of say hello to some of the regulars and the bartenders and stuff like that. If you want to find me tonight, I'll be basically at Island Bar from about like 6:45 to 8. And then from 8 probably till 10, I'll be at Neil and Pam's. I'm not even sure if there's a band right now. Always a great time at Neil and Pam's. If you haven't eaten there before, they got some great food for not too expensive. I also love the Island Bar for food. But really, thank you all again. Thanks for all the support. Anyone watching this live, thank you for being here. Anyone watching after the fact, thanks for joining and staying, up to speed with my life and what I'm doing. Just keep contributing, right? Like, how could this vlog be more beneficial? What are ways to improve on it? Shane, slow down. You're talking too fast. Like that's something I'm already considering. I'd love more feedback like that. What's some, books that you've read lately that you think would be helpful for me? And I just would love to see you all engage on the post. Feel free to send messages like everyone's doing. I'm perfectly fine with that. Introverts, you don't have to be on social media posting. But people who have that courage, I really do challenge you to be out there and putting those comments out there. And, I'll protect you from the trolls, but just, you might help someone. You never know. I've had so many people reach out and be like, what you said the other day really aligned with me. I start seeing, this is probably my ego and might be fake, but it seems like a lot of my friends are posting more and being more open and more honest with themselves. I love to see that. If it's not even a direct result of what I'm doing, that's totally fine. But I'm just going to keep putting that out there to help others. I'm done with the negativity. I love being positive. I love where I'm at right now. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Saying peace out to Facebook. Gotta look over here, get my beautiful face. Facebook's done. Saying peace out to Instagram. Hope you guys have a good one. I don't even know if it's over yet, but once that's done, I'll be saying bye to old Mr. YouTube and Twitch. Bear with me. I could probably end it now. It only helps. So, see you guys later. Twitch, YouTube, thanks for joining in. Gonna do a better job at kind of trimming these up, make it a little smaller for people. I hope you all have a great one.